To you.
All right, Blake, thank you so much. Blake Berman with the latest there. We are on this story this morning. The fight for the swing states as well, big story. The presidential candidates are out on the campaign trail with just 5 days until Election Day. Watch this.
Show up early and vote. Show up early. You know, the lines are incredible. The polls are all saying we're going to win Florida. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Get out there and vote. Pretend we're slightly behind.
I know that those of you in this room don't want him to become president, but let's face the facts. A lot of Americans are voting for him, right?
Joining me right now is Trump campaign pollster John McLaughlin. John, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. So what's your take on these polls? Let me just say one poll this morning that we got. This is the new CBS New York Times national poll. Shows Hillary Clinton still with the lead, but that lead has shrunk to a 3-point lead over Donald Trump. What's your take on it? Do you believe this?
We have the momentum right now. She's crashing. And what's really interesting is at this point in 2000, George W. Bush was ahead by 5 points. It ended up being a neck-and-neck race. John Kerry was ahead in the polls. He ended up losing to George W. Bush. And then just 4 years ago at this point, Romney was ahead. And he lost his lead in the last weekend. These polls change because there's momentum. Even 5 days, you're looking at a historic vote. It could be 150 million people come out. The early voting is up. There's new voters coming in. The old voter models that elected Barack Obama 8 years ago, 4 years ago, have changed. And you're seeing differences in the early vote. So right now, you're seeing Trump gain in all these polls and Hillary Clinton in big trouble because all this news about a pending indictment, the investigation that went on the last week, her corruption is now the dominant issue in the campaign. So that's given us a lot of momentum.
Look at this Florida poll. Assess this one. This is the latest CNN poll. It has Hillary ahead by just 2 points in Florida. Obviously, Florida is a crucial swing state. Trump is campaigning in Florida. He campaigned there yesterday. What's his appeal to voters in the state? What's the sales pitch?
Well, it's change. His message is about change, changing Washington. And also that poll, maybe it's 2 points behind. That's the margin of error. New York Times had us ahead the other day.
In Florida?
Yeah, in Florida. So the average of polls have us slightly ahead. So we've got the momentum there. And what's going on, too, with the early voting is the Republicans are doing better than they did 4 years ago. And so you've got, I'm expecting a larger turnout in Florida right now than we had 4 years ago.
Is it so for the last 5 days, do you need Republicans to come out and vote more, or do you need the independents to switch over and say we're actually going to cast our vote for Trump?
Both. Both help because it's the math, it's the algebra. But independents are switching, going to Trump right now, and at the same time he's maxing out the Republican vote, which is great for our members of Congress and our Senate candidates, because if they vote for Trump, chances are 90% of them are going to vote for the Republican candidate for Senate and Congress.
But really quickly, Pennsylvania is still tough. Hillary Clinton's still ahead in Pennsylvania, and he really needs to win that. Even if he sweeps the Romney states and gets Florida, Ohio, Iowa, and Nevada, he still doesn't get to 270.
Pennsylvania is really close. It's close to it. The average is in 4 points. There's a poll out Susquehanna had us within 2. There's 5 days left, and it's closing fast. And you're going to see a different kind of turnout in Pennsylvania because the western part of the state, central part of the state, been hurt bad by the economy. Obamacare is hurting them bad. And I think the Republicans will make inroads in Delaware County and Pennsylvania and do very well. And Philadelphia won't be quite the bastion of support that the Democrats counted on 4 years ago.
So on election night, we should be really zeroing in on Pennsylvania, Florida.
Florida. And I would also look at some states like even Michigan.
Okay.
Trump's got momentum right now.
John, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. John McLaughlin there. We have live coverage throughout Election Day and the morning after. We are starting an hour early on the day after Election night at 5 a.m. Eastern to